I want to thank you for joining us tonight for our retirement masterclass here at the Milburn Library. Before we get started, I'm just going to ask that you keep your phones on silent or off. That would be greatly appreciated. This is an educational presentation, so sit back and enjoy. And now, the founder of DPS Advisors with 38 years of experience and a licensed fiduciary, my dad, John Papa.
Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. So how was your first day of summer today, right? Longest day of the year. It's only 100 degrees, right? A little hot out there. Oh my God. We missed spring. How you doing, sir? Listen, we were expecting, there might be some people coming in throughout the presentation, so we'll just let them, they'll listen from where we start. I typically don't, when it's a large room of people, I don't take questions during the seminar or during the workshop, but, it seems like I could take some questions, and if we're running tight on time, I'll just table it till the end, and I'm going to be here afterwards, so if you have individual questions, you can ask me, anything you want when the program's over. I'll be around for a while to answer anything you have. So we're going to talk about a bunch of things. The first thing, what you were watching before was a show that I do on Saturday mornings on New Jersey 12 Network called The Papa Report. It's on at 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings, every Saturday. And it's broadcast also, we recently, about a month or two ago, started on CW11, New York station, on Saturday nights. In fact, it'll be running this Saturday night at 6:30 on CW11. It's called The Papa Report. It's a half-hour show. We talk about different topics of retirement planning, investment planning for people who are about to retire. I talked a lot about, in that last show, we do have some baseball player clients as athletes as clients, and the similarities between athletes and retirees, or people who are about to retire, are there are a lot. I mean, it's crazy because these young kids make a lot of money, and people who've been working for 20, 30, 40 years in a job and saving money in a 401k have a lot of assets too. So there's not too much difference between the two. So we talk a lot about that show, on that show, about all different retirement topics. So if you're around on Saturday morning or Saturday evening, you can check it out on CW11 or New Jersey 12 Network. And also on Sundays at 2 o'clock, I do a radio show for an hour, same name, The Papa Report. It's on WOR 710 at 2 o'clock. It's a 1 hour show. I do that right from my office. I have a little studio in my office, and it's the same thing, talking about retirement, talking about what people should be doing in retirement. I started this business with my dad 38 years ago, and we were regular advisors building 401k plans for small businesses, pizzerias, body shops, under 20, 30 employees. And then after a while, started getting older, people were retiring, and we're like, well, what do we do with our money? So we started learning and educating ourselves on what should we be talking to people about in retirement, because there's a different mindset. When you're growing your assets while you're working, it's totally different than when you're retired and not working. Your philosophy or your philosophy has to change in retirement. It's not growth anymore. It's more about protection and preservation of principal and income in retirement. So I want you to sit back, and one thing you're going to learn is I'm not the most technological person, so I'm going to press this button. I'm probably going to lose what screen we're on. So we like to have fun with this stuff, so you can make fun of me, and we'll laugh about it. But we're going to, our motto, we built this motto 38 years ago, is educate and empower people so they can make better decisions with their hard-earned money. And I go by that every day. I don't want you to, it's about education, and education is the key. When you learn about the different types of strategies that we're going to talk a little bit about tonight, and then you can implement them in your current plan, it's going to really help your current situation. So, we can't help everybody, but if you have any questions or you want to meet with us afterwards, we're going to talk about that later on in the program. But I want you to sit back, relax. We're not selling anything tonight. It's more about education and more about, just taking a deep breath and learning a little about something different that you might not have heard before, okay? So this is legal stuff for compliance purposes. I'm going to say it has to be on here for like 2 minutes, so I'm gonna leave it on for 10 seconds and you guys all read it, right? So it's compliance, we're all good, I'm legal now. Okay? So let's talk about, why did you accept the invitation? You know, we did a whole Facebook ad and talk about some topics, when to turn on Social Security, market volatility, taxes on qualified plans. That's a big topic that we work with a lot of people on an everyday basis. Who has a 401k, 403b, IRA, 457? Who in the audience has that? Pretty much everybody. Do you guys have a tax plan on how to pay the least amount of taxes on those retirement plans? Or are you just going to wait for the RMDs to start at age 73 and start taking distributions and pay whatever tax rate's going to be? Okay, that's pretty much everybody. So we're going to introduce some stuff to you tonight that might be pretty interesting, that you probably haven't heard before, and most of you shook your head that you didn't have a tax plan, so that means your accountants aren't educating you on this stuff. They're more of a tax preparer than they are tax planner, and we'll help you. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. So why did you accept the invitation? You know, why did you come here tonight? This is a little video that it talks about how I got into the business.
Know that the value of money is important to them and it's important to me.
Chris, we have a little technical.
I tell them, I understand.
We got to start this from the beginning.
Money that you work and we're gonna.
No, we can skip it. They saw it. You know what, Chris? Let it go. We saw the show. They saw the show already. So basically, what I'm saying in this video is, you know, I didn't come from a wealthy family. I grew up in Roseland, New Jersey. My parents lived there our whole lives. We were middle class. My dad was a hairdresser at first, and my mom didn't work. And we had 4 kids living in a 1-bathroom house, and that story was talking about, I learned the value of money early in my life. My father would give my older brother $1 for lunch, and it was 50 cents, and I have to meet him in the hallway to get the change so I could get lunch. And I could tell my older brother, who's no longer here, not all the time. He didn't give me lunch money all the time. So we didn't grow up rich. And I learned about money and value of money. I was always interested in it. I went to Trenton State College. I got a degree in management, but I was in a minor in economics, and I was always interested in this stuff. So that's kind of why I got into this business with my dad. I'm an independent licensed fiduciary, which I talked about in the show that you guys just watched, and I'll explain to you during the show what a fiduciary actually means. I have been asked to be on Fox Business. I've been on CNBC, MSNBC. My show was broadcast on WPIX Channel 11. I wrote articles for Market Watch and Benzinga as a retirement planning specialist. So I have a pretty extensive experience in this field, from designing 401k plans to actually now designing income plans for people who need income, and also for safe growth plans for people who don't need the income but don't want to watch their money go up and down on a roller coaster. So that's kind of what we do. 38 years working as a licensed fiduciary. I've been meeting with clients and working with their best interest at all times. That's what a licensed fiduciary has to do, okay? I use the terminology, the analogy of Home Depot. Let's say you needed to hang, I'm going to tell you the difference between just dealing with a broker from one of the big box firms or dealing with a fiduciary, okay? Let's say you needed to use a hammer to hang a picture on your wall, and your big box firm broker sold you a 20-pound hammer. That's a suitable recommendation. You asked that person for a hammer, they sold you a 20-pound hammer, and it was suitable. Never going to get in trouble for that. A licensed fiduciary will probably get in trouble, because we're like Home Depot. You come into me and say, hey, I need a hammer, I'm going to bring you down to aisle 12 and say, hey, I have hammers from 1 pound to sledgehammers. Let's find the right hammer that's going to fit for you. I need to ask you some questions. Do you have any heart problems, any orthopedic issues? Tell me, any shoulder surgeries, any issues medical-wise. Let's see what hammer you can swing. A licensed fiduciary's care for a client is up here. If I just sold you a 20-pound hammer as a licensed fiduciary and you reported me to FINRA and the SEC, I'm probably getting fined for that if you explained your situation to them in detail. A licensed fiduciary takes that standard of care to a higher level. Okay, so if anything you learn here tonight, you need to be working with somebody who's a licensed fiduciary. There are only 2 kinds of licensed fiduciaries: a certified financial planner, CFP, or a registered investment advisor, RIA. I'm a registered investment advisor. The tests are just a Bentley, Mercedes. It's just two different ways to get that designation. I chose the Registered Investment Advisory route, okay? I just explained to you before, the Papa Report is on these different channels and shows. I also wrote a book called Avoiding the Retirement Traps. I have a podcast that I don't really take advantage of because I don't really know how to do it, but it's called Intelligent Investor. We're going to start working on that with Chris in the back. So we're trying to educate and get the word out about what's going on in retirement, if you're pre-retiree or about to retire. In that retiree red zone, 10 years within retirement, you should really start thinking about shifting your financial strategies, okay? So we're going to hit a couple topics tonight that I think are pretty important to people who are getting older in age. The first one being Social Security, right? Just like I said, I'm 7 sheets behind, and I'll probably just talk off of the screen, right? So Social Security, in 2015, there was a bipartisan budget act passed that made huge changes to Social Security. So regardless of what party you are, and we're not going to talk politics tonight, so it doesn't matter what party you are, it's bipartisan passed. Okay, right now disability, Social Security are funded to 2037. We're hearing a lot of stuff in the news about how Social Security is going bankrupt, right? It's not going to be there for anybody. Okay, that's not true. What they mean to say is in 2037, if no changes are made to Social Security, there's going to be reductions in the benefits that you get. We'll probably receive about 75% of the benefit that you were projected to receive. That's totally different than Social Security being bankrupt. It's not going to be there for you, right? So they scare us the media scares us with all this information, but most of it's wrong. So you need to know what the rules are, know what the strategies that you're going to implement in your own plan. So Social Security is funded to 2037, but what they did in this bipartisan act, they used to be able to do all kinds of techniques, file and suspend, take your spouses and leave yours to grow. They did away with all that. That was gone and it's no longer available. The restricted application, no changes to survivor benefits. That's all gone, right? And they recreated full retirement age in that year to 66 or 67, depending on when your birth date is. I happen to be 67 as my full retirement age, okay? So, and the only thing left to decide in Social Security is, when am I going to take it, right? What are the main rules of Social Security? When can you file a claim, okay? Age 62 is when you can actually file your first claim for Social Security, okay? Now, I don't advise you to do that, because most people have that, who come into our office, not most people, I hear a lot of people when they come into the office say, oh, I paid into this system my whole life, I'm taking it as soon as I can get it, 62, I'm turning it on. I want to make sure it's there for me. I don't want to leave any money on the table. Well, if you do that, you're leaving a ton of money on the table, okay? Because when you turn it on at 62, you're only going to get 75% of the benefits that you paid into the system for if you turn it on at 62. Okay, so you really want to try not to. Now, unless you're financially in a situation that you can't afford not to turn it on, I would say you need to delay. Wait, okay? Wait till your full retirement age. And that's between 66 and 67, depending on your birth date. And you'll see that in the Social Security statements you get every year. They used to send them to us hard copy. Now you got to go online and create an account and do all that. But you should wait till full retirement age if you can. That's when you're going to get 100% of what you paid into the system, if you at least wait till 66, 67, okay? Maximum age is age 70. If you can afford to wait and delay to 70, you're going to get 132% of the benefits that you paid in. And I'm going to show you a calculation now that in a second that's going to show you the differences between turning it on at 62, 67, or 70. You're leaving a lot of money on the table if you take it early, okay? One thing that no one talks about, not the Social Security Administration, if you call them to try and get information from them, first of all, you get a different answer from everybody. Whoever you call and you finally get on the phone, you'll get a different answer from everybody there, okay? The one thing that they don't talk about is health, okay? Now, health has to play a factor in this decision. If you're leading, a healthy lifestyle and there's a really good chance you're going to live to life expectancy and you can afford to delay and wait, you should. Who's the person that knows your health almost as better than you, or probably better than you? It's your doctor. So I tell clients all the time, listen, call your doctor and ask them, you know my situation, what are the odds I'm gonna live to life expectancy? Now, you can't plan for being hit by a bus or something, accident happen, or God forbid something happens the day after you turn the thing on and you wait till 7. You can't plan for those accidents. But if there's a really good chance you're gonna live the life expectancy, when you see these numbers, it's pretty astronomical about how much money you're leaving on the table, okay? The next set of numbers here are Social Security wage taxes, cost of living adjustments. So I'm going to give you some statistics right now. Okay, these are old numbers here, but I have the most up-to-date numbers. Cost of living has averaged since 1975 about 3.69%. Every year, your Social Security goes up a little bit based on cost of living. You know, in 2023, when interest rates started rising, cost of living was 8.7% that year. Unheard of, never happened in history. Cost of living in 2024 is 3.2%, the increase in Social Security pay. So we all got, if you turned it on and you're receiving it, you got a 3.2% increase in 2024. What's the maximum amount of income you can have that's going to count towards your Social Security benefit? In 2024, it is $160,200. Is the most benefit, most amount of wages that's going to count towards that. If you make more than that, it's not, the higher of income's not going to count towards your Social Security. It's $168,600 in 2024. What's the maximum benefit you're going to be able to receive at 70 years old? Right now, that number is $3,822 is the maximum benefit. Actually, that's at age. That was at age 70. The full retirement age at 67 is 3822. If you wait till 70, it's 4,873. So if you turn it on at 67 and you have full benefits paid in, you're going to get 3822. If you wait till 70, that number increases to 4873. Does everybody understand that? I know I messed the numbers up right before that. Everybody understand that? Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
What is the life expectancy?
What's that?
What is the
life expectancy right now is changing constantly. Like, we're living longer and longer. Medical care is better and better. You know, life expectancies are going up. It's mid to upper 80s right now for females and low to mid 80s for males. So let's talk about how much money you're actually leaving on the table. So what if planning is a problem? I use an example, the names are changed, okay? These are real clients. Now, I want you to understand, because I got stopped in the last 4 events that we did. If you see the second column on all 3 slides, it's the monthly benefit at full retirement age. And that stays the same in all 3 slides. So, but it only really applies to this middle slide when you turn it on at 67. Here you're turning it on at 62, so you're getting a lower benefit. There you're turning it on at 70, so you're getting a higher benefit, okay? So I have a couple people a couple times trying to correct my math, tell me I'm way off on the math, and I'm like, you're just not reading the chart right. So this is how it works. So let's say Ron and Nancy, they turned on Social Security at 62 years old. Ron's benefit, they would have received $1,659,000 in Social Security benefits. Ron lived to 85 and Nancy lived to 90, okay? If they could afford to wait and turn it on at 67, their benefits they would have received are $1,944,000, which is $285,000 more than if you turned it on at 62. If you can wait to 70, you can afford to wait to 70, they would have received, and again, still living to 85 and 90, they would have received $1,126,136, which is $466,800 more than if they turned it on at 62. It's almost $500,000. So when people say, I want to turn it on at 62 because I want to get what's due me and I want to make sure I get my money and I don't want to leave any money on the table, you're leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table if you don't wait until at least full retirement age. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a couple factors. Obviously, everybody's situation is different. If you can't afford it, if you need the income to live on, then you have to turn it on, okay? If you are not in a healthy situation, health-wise, because whatever illnesses you might have, then that'll play a factor in it as well, and you might not live to life expectancy. Again, your doctor will tell you what your chances of you living to life expectancy will be. You let the doctor get involved with the decision. You know, part of that show, I talked about having a team around you. Your doctor's part of your team as well. You know, you should have a licensed fiduciary, a lawyer, an accountant, and your doctor, because they're part of the process. They're part of helping you make decisions about, you know, longevity and things like that, right? About whether you should, you know, long-term care comes into play, because the longer we live, the better chances we're going to need a long-term care scenario. You know, because one of the negatives of living older is you're going to have health and medical issues later on. So your doctor's got to be part of that team, okay? Any questions about Social Security? So the main message tonight is, if you can delay and at least wait till full retirement age of 67, you should. If you can afford to, go to 70 and you'll put $500,000 in your pocket. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Does any of this money go to taxes?
These are gross numbers. These are gross numbers. You know,
Is this coming to us, or do you have to pay tax?
This is a gross number. This is before taxes. You haven't taken taxes out yet. Taxes on Social Security can be either 50% or 85% on the amount of benefit you take in. When Social Security was originally created, it was not taxed. It was a free benefit. You didn't have to pay taxes on it. Again, not political, but both sides of the aisle. First started with Ronald Reagan, and then it started with Bill Clinton, then it finished with Bill Clinton. When Reagan got into office, he declared that you're going to pay taxes on 50% of your Social Security benefit. So that became a tax revenue stream, right? And then the Democrats under Bill Clinton's administration raised it, and it's based on your income limits, your income levels. You can go up to 85% of your Social Security could be taxed. So 85% of these monthly numbers could be used in your taxable income. Yes, sir.
And once you're Medicare eligible, that can come directly out of your Social Security benefit.
Yes. You can take your Medicare benefit, which that starts at 65. Does everybody know that at 65 you have to go on Medicare, which is the government provided sponsored health insurance plan? So 65, unless you're full-time working for a company and you're in a company-sponsored health plan.
So is the taxable impact before or after the Medicare piece comes?
You know what, that's a great question. The more income you show, the higher your Medicare premium costs are going to be. Your Medicare premiums are based on your income, and that's going to be something we're going to talk about in a second when we talk about taxes on qualified plans. So if you have a 401k, IRA, you need to pay attention to the next segment, because in retirement, I'm trying to help people get tax-free income, because tax-free income doesn't count towards Medicare premiums. They might reduce your income tax on Social Security because you're not showing a lot of income. So depending on whether you have time between your age now and 73 when RMDs kick in, if you have time, you need to be looking at tax planning strategies. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to confirm, this $500,000 difference between 62 and 70, that's a couple, right? So if you're individual.
That's Ron and Nancy.
Yeah, so if you're single,
it's different. Obviously different, yes. Yeah. It's a couple. Any more questions on Social Security? So the next tax we're going to talk about is income tax and the tax train. This is, again, an old slide I'm going to talk to you about. You can go on a website called usdebtclock.org. Anybody ever heard of that website? You should go on it. It's very scary. No joke. It's legitimately scary. Right now, currently, I did it this morning, we are at $34.7 trillion in debt, our federal government. Each citizen in the United States, I don't care if you're a day old or 105, If we all paid the government $103,000, we'll be out of debt. A day-old baby and a person who's 100, however the oldest person is. If we all owe $103,000, and we would be debt-free. How scary is that? They're projecting in the next 2 years, interest payments on the debt alone will be $1 trillion. $1 trillion a year in interest on the debt of almost 35 trillion. And why do I say that? Why are we talking about the debt levels? Because where do you think tax rates are going to be going in the next 5, 10, 15, I don't know I don't know if that doesn't seem, everybody's young in this room, like we're in their 50s and 60s, right? So probably all going to live another 25, 30 years. Where do you think tax rates are going to go? Answer, anybody, give me an answer. Up or down? Okay. Well, no, they have, actually, they have. When Trump, what's that?
We're going to cut government spending.
Yeah, no, they don't do that. They never do that. The Trump tax code is set to expire in end of 2025. So depending on who wins the election in November, it's going to make a quick change to the tax code right away. If it's one way and they let the tax code expire, automatically every tax bracket's going up 2%. If he wins, hopefully they're going to keep the tax code and keep it as is. But over time, no matter who's in office, to combat this record debt level that we're in, tax rates are going to have to increase. So I asked before, who here has a 401k, 403b, IRA, and pretty much everybody in the room answered that they had one, right? So think about this. When you first started working, and you went in that 401k meeting, and I'm going to talk, we did a show, one of our show's topics, we did this, about tax planning. And this was on one of the pop-up reports.
You were telling me some
quick segment
things before we came on the air about taxes. You actually made me feel good because I was worried about taxes this year. Let's talk about that.
Because some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is on taxes on qualified plans. And, people don't realize when you use the tax code to your advantage, there's nothing illegal about it,
Right.
but using the tax code to your advantage, you have opportunities to convert taxable IRA money into tax-free money later on. Okay, using tax brackets, like, for example, in a married filing jointly today, you can claim up to $315,000 and still be in a 24% tax bracket federally. And for a single person, you can claim up to almost $158,000 and still be in a 24% tax bracket. And the thing about taxes on qualified plans is nobody knows what the taxes are going to be when they retire.
Right.
5 years from now, this tax code in place today is going to set to expire in 2025.
Yes.
New Congress, new administration. We don't know what the tax rates are going to be. So imagine playing a game, this qualified plan game you saved all your life in a 401k, 403b, but no one told you what the end rules are going to be when the game is over. That's what people are doing today. They're saving in these qualified plans, and we have no idea what the taxes are going to be when you retire or 20, 30, 10 years down the road. What are the taxes going to be? So we try and use solutions using today's code to get money into a tax-free environment so that it doesn't matter what the tax rates are. Done.
Okay, so imagine sitting in the 401k room when you first started working, and I was up there and I'm the 401k guy. I set these plans up in small businesses. I don't know where you guys worked, but if you were large companies, you never saw me. Somebody else came to your company. But I would set plans up. I was part of the problem because I didn't know. I never really thought of what the taxes would be later. But imagine if I sat in front of your room and this is a group of employees of Milburn Library, and I'm telling you, you guys have to save in a 401k. You're going to get a current year's tax deduction for that contribution you make. And you're going to let that money grow and grow and grow and grow. And at 65 years old, when you retire, you're going to have $500,000, $1 million, whatever the number is. And you're going to have a partner in that pot of money called the IRS to somewhere in the tune of 30 to 35%. So that $1 million you saved your whole life for, you're going to get $650,000. No one told us that in the 401k meetings. So what did we all do? We all shoved max them out. All we hear, max out your 401k, max out your IRA, max it all out. It's tax deferred. But imagine playing a game and I told you, hey, save all your money, but I don't know what the costs are going to be coming out. What if the tax rates go to 70%? And your $1 million IRA that you have, that you worked your whole life for, you're going to take dollars out of it and you're going to get 300 grand. That's possible. That could happen. So we set up charts for clients. I have proprietary software that I can run a client's IRA account through, and I can show you what the taxes you're going to pay. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you have $500,000 and you're 65 years old in your 401k. And you're going to earn 7% in your portfolio, because most people are kind of aggressive in their 401ks. When you're building the plan and growth, you should be aggressive. You should be able to get 7% over time in good, sound investments. Your $500,000 IRA at 73 years old, because that's when the RMDs start. You guys all know that? RMDs used to be 70 and a half. When we were, most of our working lives, it was 70 and a half, you had to start taking money out. But in the last few years, they've increased it to 73. And in 2035, it's going to 75, okay? Everybody knows 59 and a half is the earliest you can take money out of an IRA or 401k without paying a penalty, just the taxes. Okay, those are important numbers, so 73. So this person, 65 years old, has 8 years to go before the RMDs kick in. Once the RMDs kick in, ball game over. You're partnered with the IRS and you have no say, and you're subjected to whatever the IRS rules are at the time. So this person, again, his $500,000 IRA will grow to approximately $860,000 in 8 years at 7%. His RMD distribution for that year will be $34,781. So we all heard that story that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire than you are when you were working. Anybody else hear that story? Who's in a lower tax bracket? Nobody. I can tell you the people that come in my office, between Social Security, between the husband and wife, you know, this group kind of, some of them still have pensions, got pensions. If you work for government, police, fire, you get a pension. You add up all your income. You saved all this money in investments. You're taking income off of the investments. Nobody's in a lower tax bracket. I'm just telling you, based on thousands of client meetings in my conference room, nobody's in a lower tax bracket, especially here in the Northeast, right? So this person's going to now start taking $34,781 out of his IRA that he has to pay taxes on. And that's going to continue until, let's say, he lives to 90. We're living longer. He lives to 90. He would have taken out in that IRA between 73 and 90, $1,100,000 on that IRA that was worth 500 grand. Let's say he's in a 24% tax bracket. The tax rate on that, his distribution, is $264,000 in taxes that he would have paid to the IRS. But that's not the end of the story. There's still, at 90, $1 million left in this IRA. That's going to go to his kids. Now, you used to be able, when it went to the kids, spread it out over their lifetimes. They changed that rule. Now it has to be taken out in 10 years. So imagine if you have two kids in the 40s that just inherited your $1 million IRA, you passed away, they both get $500,000. They have to take it out over a 10-year period, so it's 50 grand a year. They're making, in their prime working years of their life, add 50 grand a year in income to pay taxes on. What tax bracket are they going to be in? So you just passed on a tax problem to your kid, not a solution, not a good thing. You passed on a problem, okay? So between the person whose IRA it was, pay tax on 1.1 million, the heirs are going to pay taxes on $1 million, so $2.1 million of distributions from a $500,000 IRA at 65 years old. Taxes are paid in the IRS. The kids' tax rate is going to be about $308,000 because it's in their prime working years. So their tax rate, say 30%, right? The total amount of taxes due on that 401k IRA at 65 years old is $573,000. That's more than what you had in the 500, and that's if tax rates stay the same. And we all kind of agree that tax rates are going up, right? So it's only going to get worse. Now, you have some solutions, right? What's the solution? If you're not talking to your accountant and your accountant is not talking to you about tax planning strategies to get paid the least amount of taxes, you heard me talk on the show about, that pay your fair share. I'm so sick and tired of hearing that statement, right? That doesn't mean you have to pay these taxes on you. You can implement strategies that are legal strategies today to get your taxes to be the least amount of taxes. That's what the IRS code book is for, to teach you how to pay the least amount of taxes on your income, not the most amount. But no one's doing it because accountants, they don't care about the big picture in the future. And if there's any accountants in the room, I apologize. In the next few minutes, probably going to be bashing you a little bit, okay? And that doesn't mean it's because of us. Because what do we tell our accountant every year when you give them your documents? I don't want to pay a lot in taxes this year, right? You fight them tooth and nail. I don't want to pay a lot. But if you look at it in the big picture, doing some tax planning means you'll pay a little bit more now to pay nothing later. So let's talk about that. What is one of your solutions that we do every day in our office? So let's say you came to me, you're 65 years old, and you have 8 years to go before you're 73 and RMDs kick in, you don't need the money, and you're a married couple filing a joint tax return. You heard me say in that show, it's a couple of years old, it was $315,000 in income and being a 24% tax bracket. It's now $383,000 in income and being a 24% tax bracket. So you can declare up to $383,000 and still be in a 24% bracket. So let's talk about a Roth conversion. We can take out $78,000 a year out of that $500,000 IRA, get it down to zero in 8 years before 73 kicks in, and put it in a Roth IRA. It's a Roth conversion. You'll pay taxes on that $78,000 a year. Conversion. The amount you're going to pay taxes on over that 8-year period is $626,000. In that 24% tax bracket, you're going to pay taxes of $150,000 in that 8-year period. The first way, you were paying taxes of $264,000, and your heirs are paying taxes of $310,000. So we just turned your $500,000 IRA into a tax bill of only $150,000. Now that $78,000 goes into a Roth IRA. It grows tax-free for the 8 years till you're 73, and that pot of money is now going to be about $810,000 at 73. And now I could take an income stream that starts out just like my RMD was, but now I can take out $43,000 a year out of that Roth IRA, income tax-free, pay no taxes whatsoever. Maybe it keeps your Medicare premiums lower. Maybe it doesn't put you over the threshold to pay taxes on Social Security. There's a lot of moving parts and benefits of getting tax-free income, a tax-free pension versus taxable. Now, you take those distributions out, you're going to receive almost $950,000 of tax-free distributions at 90. There's still $800,000 left to go to your heirs. That's 100% tax-free to them. So imagine those two kids are now getting $400,000 apiece, but they're keeping all $400,000. There's no taxes due. Has anybody heard of the Roth conversion? Has anybody done it? Great. When they first started Roth conversion in the early 2000s, my father and I would talk to every person we saw and say, you got to Roth convert. And back then, whatever you converted, you had 3 years to pay the taxes. They would let you defer the tax for 3 years. We couldn't get anybody to do it. Nobody would do it. But now, with the record debt levels that we're in, everyone's aware of where tax rates are going. And if you're not doing tax planning strategies, you're really making a serious mistake, because you're paying more to the IRS than you really have to, okay? Now, Roth conversion could be for current income if you need the money for income. There are some people who have a pension, Social Security, they don't need their IRAs for income, and they really just want to pass it on down to kids and grandkids. There are other strategies using life insurance policies if that's possible. We would throw out, again, talk about your situation, see what you're really trying to do in your plan. I had 2 retired teachers as clients who have great pensions and Social Security. They don't need any money out of their $1 million 403B. We created a $5 million tax-free life death benefit that's going to go to their kids when they pass on, and their IRA is paying for it. Doesn't cost them any money out of their pocket. None of their income's being touched. But I turned a $1 million IRA into a $5 million tax-free death benefit to kids and grandkids using life insurance. Now, life insurance, you have to qualify for it. So there's a lot of whole other things that are involved with that. So I'm not saying that's for everybody, but there are options. What I'm saying is, if you're not reviewing what your options are, you're making a mistake. I talked in the show about just trying to wing it in retirement. A lot of people are just trying to wing it. You come in with your, I say, the big box firm statements, and, what's your retirement plan? Well, oh, here's my statements, these are all my statements. Like, okay, that's not a plan. That's an investment plan. That's an investment. What's the plan? What's your IRA plan? What's your distribution plan? There's none. What happens if long-term care hits? Do you have a plan for that? We're going to talk about inflation in a little bit as well. Any questions on this? Any questions quickly? I mean, we got pretty good time. Any questions? Yes.
I heard long-term care.
Well, I'll go first, I'll come to you second.
Well, I didn't raise my hand very high.
That's all right.
Just curious, so with the Roth IRA conversion, are you allowed to convert like a certain amount at a time?
It depends on what your tax bracket is. So we would look at your tax returns. You can convert, if you have $12 billion in an IRA, you can convert it all at once. Oh. You'll pay the taxes on it, but you can convert as much as you want. A lot of people get confused about contributing to a Roth IRA versus conversion of a Roth IRA to a Roth IRA. If you make a certain amount of income level, I believe it's like 160 some odd thousand bucks, you can't even contribute to a Roth IRA. You make too much money. But a conversion, it doesn't matter how much money you make. You can convert as much as you want. It really depends on your tax return, and that's what we work with our clients. You bring in your tax return, let's see what you have as far as room. We don't want to blow you up into a 40% tax bracket. We want to try and keep you in that 20, 22, 24% bracket on the conversion. So it depends on how much room we have. And if you need the money. If you need the money right away, that's an issue, because in a Roth conversion, it's got to sit for 5 years. One of the rules of a Roth conversion is you can't touch the Roth money for 5 years. So if you need the money right away, then we're not going to do all of your money in a Roth conversion. We'll leave some in the IRA. So there's a lot of different moving parts to this that we need to go over and discuss, and that's part of what we do as your licensed fiduciary.
I have heard that the long-term care insurance was just too crazy expensive now and not to even think about it.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Yeah, the premiums are crazy expensive, right? But you know what a long-term care costs to put somebody in a long-term care facility? I have my mother-in-law's in there right now, $15,000 a month. So if we can show, how about this? If we can show a strategy where I'm going to take some of my assets and turn them into an income stream that I don't need to live on, I could take some of the income stream from the assets to pay the long-term care premium. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it doesn't stink paying the premium, but it's like car insurance. We all have it, right? We pay for it, we hate paying for it, and hopefully we're never going to need it. The best way to pay for long-term care is having a policy. And I know it's not cheap. It's really not. But we got to look at what are some strategies I can implement. And there might not be any, but it's something you need to review and take a look at. Yeah, it stinks paying the premiums. But I can tell you, we're living it firsthand. My mother-in-law is broke right now. She's been in a home for 5 years, completely broke. And it's horrible. And if you think Medicaid's going to pay for you guys, you need to be broke before Medicaid pays a dime. So, don't go in that route thinking Medicaid's going to pay. They're not. Okay?
No question?
Sure.
You talked about do a Roth conversion. You take a tax hit on the conversion.
Yes, sir.
But then you talked about the benefit to you and your heirs going forward is tax-free, no further tax impact.
Right.
Is that because you're suggesting tax-free investments?
No, the Roth IRA is tax-free. There's no taxes due on a Roth IRA. So I could take income from that Roth. It could be in stocks, it could be in anything. Any income I take out of it is tax-free.
Even if it's continued to grow?
Even if it's $10 billion, that's income from that Roth IRA is tax-free. 100% to you, 100% to your heirs, whoever receives the money later, it's completely tax-free. So it doesn't have to be in tax-free muni bonds, no. If you're just passing this stuff on to kids and grandkids, I'm buying NVIDIA stock, being a crazy aggressive, and let this huge pot of money go to my kids and grandkids, tax-free. That's the code, the tax code. Roth IRAs are tax-free, no matter what's inside of it. Yes, sir. Is there what? There's a threat every day to everybody, but who knows? If they might change the laws, but if you have one set up already, it's going to have to be grandfathered because they can't go back and go say, the Roth IRA, they might stop it from 2025 going forward, no more new Roth IRAs, but they're never going to be able to go back and repurpose, retitle old Roth IRAs. They just can't. It's impossible. Okay?
Need your password.
My what?
Password.
To get into the computer?
Yeah.
You want me to yell it out in front of everybody?
Good.
I told you, we're not the most technological people, and I talk too much. I was in between slides too long, and that's why I went out. So, yeah, if I talk too much, just tell me to move on. So what are your options, right? And we got to get going. What are your options? You can do nothing and put your head in the sand and don't do anything and just pay the most amount of taxes to the IRS and just pay them, and you got a partner in your 401k. One thing else I can tell you is every one of your children and grandchildren should be maxing out their Roth IRA, their Roth 401k. They should not be contributing to a regular 401k or a regular IRA. Give up that current year tax deduction. Who cares? Put their money in tax-free stuff. My kids, Luke, my daughter, they are maxing out Roth. They are never going to worry about income taxes in their lifetime. Because 30, 40, 50 years down the road, it's going to be crazy what's going on then, okay? So tell your kids and grandkids, if you have a Roth version of the 401k at your company, max it out. Max the tax-free side of it out. So you're not in this problem when you're 65 years old trying to figure out how am I getting out of this problem. Yeah.
I know that recently they changed to 529. If you have money left over, if you're like
Right.
college.
Yeah.
Is it a Roth IRA you're allowed to?
No, 529 is a total for college education. You used to be penalized if you didn't go to a college.
Right.
They eliminated that. So that's different than a Roth IRA.
Yeah, okay. I heard that.
And I'll talk to you. Well, if you have a question, we'll go there. We gotta get moving.
Okay.
I talked way too much about this. So you could do nothing. You could pay some taxes now, and the tax rates that we know what the tax rates are right now, the lowest they're ever going to be in the rest of our lifetimes. Pay a little tax now, convert it to Roth to pay nothing later. That's what tax efficient planning is all about. Contribute to Roth, convert to Roth, convert from traditional IRA to Roth IRA, and we talked about tax advantage life insurance if you can afford it, if you're just looking to pass on, all right? If you're healthy enough where you can qualify for it. So income taxes, it's a huge problem because pretty much everybody here, besides your house, your next biggest asset is your retirement plan, right? Your 401k, your IRA, it's your next second biggest asset, if not your biggest asset. So the one we pay a lot of time to it. The last thing we're going to talk about is inflation. Okay, and some market volatility. So inflation, the hidden tax, right? So they tell us the inflation rate is now down to 3.5 or 3.9. I don't know. Do you think that's true? No. I filled up my car with gas the other day. It's still 30% higher than it was a couple years ago. Went out for dinner. We go out for dinner a lot. Debbie doesn't like to cook, so we go out for dinner a lot. It's way more expensive now than it was then. I'm thinking inflation is probably double digits, right? So if you do the math at a 6 or 7% inflation rate, which is probably higher than that number, expenses will double every 8 years. So think about this. If you're 65 years old and we're going to live to 90, that's 25 years. Your expenses that you pay are going to double 3 times in your retirement life. And you don't work. Your expenses are going to double 3 times at today's inflation rate. How crazy is that? So if you don't have an income plan, an increasing income plan to combat inflation, that's the next problem that you're going to have. How are we going to afford to live 10 years from now, 12 years from now? So you got to have an income plan. So part of your assets, and we'll talk about that, need to be, and this is just another example of cost of bread and milk, and everybody knows this is, I don't have to spend time on this. The costs today are just out of control, especially where we live. It's insane what costs are. I asked my wife if she knows what a gallon of milk costs. She doesn't even know what that actually costs. It's crazy, it changes all the time. So market volatility, that's the next thing, right? So I talked briefly in the beginning, when we are working and building your retirement plans, you can be aggressive. You should be aggressive. I don't know if a lot of you used those target date funds when you were building your plan. Probably a big mistake, because target date funds automatically, as you get older, start taking your money and start buying bonds with it, right? And the target date fund doesn't know if we're in a rising interest rate environment or a lower interest rate environment. So the more money you have going to bonds, it's going to be affected by interest rates. So when you're growing your portfolio and you have 10 years to go to retire, you should never be in target date funds. Be an aggressive equity portfolio. So tell your kids and grandkids, if they're working now, be aggressive, okay? Take advantages of the ups and downs on the market. Take advantage of it, because you're contributing every year. Every paycheck, money's going in. So if the market goes down, for young kids, you want that. You buy more shares with your contribution. So be crazy aggressive when you're younger. As you get older, and when I say older, I'm talking within 5 years of retirement. Maybe 10 if you're really a conservative person, but I think in 5 years, you'll have enough time to tone down the risk. You should be aggressive until you're within 5 years of retirement, okay? We're going to talk about, now once you get to retirement, once you're in retirement, that's when you really have to worry about market volatility, because you can't afford to lose money in the market and take money out of your IRA in the RMD. When you don't have to touch your money and you look at your stock account going down, all right, it's not that big of a deal, it'll come back, it always does. The market over time has generated a 12% return. In the history of the stock market, the S&P is up 12%. But once you retire, once you hit 73 and you have an RMD, if you didn't do any Roth conversions, and you have an RMD due, the RMD doesn't care if the stock market's down. You got to pull your money out by December 31st of that year. I'm going to give you an example of how that effect is going to affect you. So this little chart is, if you lose 10% of your portfolio, you would need 3.6 years at a 3% return to get it to even. You would need 6% return, almost 2 years to get it to even. A couple years ago, 2020, we had stocks go down and bonds go down. The average portfolio, everybody hear about the balanced portfolio, 60-40 mix, stocks, equities, 40% bonds. Everybody hear that? Okay, that portfolio went down 25% in 2020. Because the whole misconception of bonds being inverse of stocks, that's a lie. Bonds don't work according to stocks. Stocks were going down. Bonds work with interest rates. And what happened in 2020? The Federal Reserve finally started raising rates, so bond values were going down. So that year, this balanced portfolio got hammered. If you lost 20% of your portfolio, and you're a conservative investor now because you're retired, it's going to take 7.5 years at a 3% return for your money to get back to even. And if you have to take RMDs out, you're never getting back to even, because there's not going to be enough money left in the account to grow back. And I'll tell you what I mean in a second. So that's what this chart means. So you really got to start thinking about getting conservative. So if you start out with 100,000, here's another just chart to show what the depths of a loss would actually do. If you had $100,000 and you lose 10%, you're left with 90 grand. You need to earn the next year 11.1 to get back to even. Everyone thinks, oh, I lost 10, I just got to earn 10 and I'm back to even. No, that doesn't work. If you lost 20% or 25%, your 100 grows to 75, you need a 33.3% return the next year to get back to even. How much risk are you taking to get that kind of return? It's a crazy amount of risk, right? So you really got to worry about market volatility in retirement. Here's what I'm talking about, the lost decade, okay? $1 million IRA in 2000, ending in 2009, when you have to start taking $40,000 distributions out, and there's losses in the market. So at the end of that 10-year period, this person has $480,000 left in his IRA in only 10 years. And what happens if we live 25 in retirement? We're living longer, not shorter, right? We're not in the 50s, we're in the 2025, 2024. We're living longer. So think about this, I did this chart before, right? I said the guy had a $500,000 IRA, it grows to about $1 million at 73. His distribution that year is $37,000. So you have $1 million, December 31st, 2020 was when the market went down. 2019, December 31st, you had $1 million. IRS said you got to pull out $37,000. So that $1 million, you have to pull out $37,000. You have it in a balanced portfolio that went down 25% in 2020. So your $1 million went down 250 grand because of the market, and you have to take out another $37,000 because of the RMD. So in 1 year, your IRA went from $1 million to minus 250, 750, so almost 700, 710 in year one of retirement. So your philosophy in retirement has to be totally different than your philosophy when you were working. Your investment philosophy has to change. I can't tell you how many people come into my office and say, I haven't changed anything. I've been retired 3 years and I'm still in the same stocks I owned when I was working. I'm like, that's crazy. We got to talk about that, right? Because you can't afford it, especially when you're starting to take money out of these plans. Any questions? Does that make sense? What I'm talking about crazy, or what's that?
You're scaring the shit out of me.
But wait, no, the best thing about it is in about a second, I'm going to say, listen, you have everyone in this room, because we're education, you're going to be able to sign up and come in, stress-free environment, and we'll talk about what's going on. We can, every solution, every problem I talked about to scare the crap out of you, I can't use that word, there's a solution for. He's recording me, so I can't do that. Every problem we talked about tonight, there's a solution. But you have to be willing to take the next step. That's a great lead into the end. Thank you very much for that. 3 investment world discussion. I have this discussion with every client that comes into my office. What we do is talk about where your safe money should be, where your growth money should be, because we can't put all our money in safety. Right? I know I scared the crap out of you, but you got to have some money for growth because we're living longer and we need that longevity and that growth to combat inflation, higher cost, more income. So some of your money has to be in Wall Street. The problem is when we see everybody who's retired, they come in with all their statements, they're all in Wall Street. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, everything's in Wall Street. That has to change, okay? You need to look. We set up emergency funds for clients. You got to have whatever keeps you sleeping at night. 50 grand in a bank, I don't care if it earns 0. Don't call me up and say my bank's only giving me 0.1. I don't care. It's therefore, if you need to see a teller and you need 10 grand in 10 seconds, they'll give it to you. You're not building wealth with an emergency fund. You're building wealth in your other funds, your other accounts. So we don't care about the interest rate here. Then I'm looking at how can I get principal protection and still get better growth than what the banks are giving me. Because if you have too much money in a bank, you're building wealth for the bank. You guys all know that, right? They're paying you, even if they raise the rates now, you're up 4 or 5%, but they're loaning it in mortgages at 9, 10, credit cards at 25, they're back up to those rates again. So you don't want to have too much money in the bank. You only want to have enough for your emergency fund and to sleep at night. That's it. Then we look at what's going to provide income if we need to create an income stream. If you listened to the show before, I know a lot of you guys were on your phones and weren't listening to the show. I know you were watching on your phone. I saw you. But I told the story about Bobby Bonilla. Now, the word annuity has a really bad I don't know what the term is for that. It's got a really bad name in the financial services field. Everybody says when they come in, I hate annuities. I don't want to talk about annuities. Okay, but if you want an income stream, you want a guaranteed income stream, or do you want to get it haphazardly every month depending on what the market's doing? If you want a guaranteed income stream, where do companies go with their pension plans to pay out these guaranteed income streams? They go to annuities. But you need to know, use the right annuities. There's all kinds of annuities out there. So a licensed fiduciary will explain how they work. I'm not saying you're going to put your money in an annuity. I'm saying is it's a financial tool that needs to be reviewed. It might have a place in your plan to either create income or safe growth opportunities. We might not use any, it's up to you, right? But we explained the pros and cons of that. And then we put some money in Wall Street so that you can get growth in your portfolio to combat inflation and longevity and higher costs in life. Does that make sense? It's pretty easy. This chart I've used for 20 years. Every client that comes into my office gets a copy of this chart, and we talk about where their money is sitting. And you bring in those statements from the big box firms, you're all over there on the right. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, REITs, variable annuities, they're all in the Wall Street world. And as you get older, you need to have less money in Wall Street and more money safe and protected. Okay? Now, you tied me right into the end. So I didn't say tonight to scare the crap out of you people. What I said was, I said it because I want you to understand the problems that are in our investment strategies. And they're inherently built into these strategies. But that doesn't mean there's not solutions. The problem is, the people at this age, and I've been dealing with people this, and I'm now in this age, we don't like change. Right? Nobody wants to change. I'll stay the status quo. I'm going to put my head in the sand. Hopefully it's going to be okay, and we're going to be fine. So you're basically winging it, right, in retirement. What we want to do is forget that. I told you I started tonight with our motto that's on our whiteboard in my conference room. It says, educate and empower people so they can make better decisions with their hard-earned money. So we're going to offer everybody here, because we call these retirement master classes. We do them in libraries. We do them in the Yogi Berra Museum on Montclair State University. So part of our theme is it's educational. So we're going to offer everybody an opportunity to come into our office right in Roseland on Eisenhower Parkway. It's not far from here. You can come in for however long you want to come in for. Talk about what's going on in your situation. We'll see if there's areas where we can help or not help. It's no cost. And I promise you, no obligation. You don't have to do business with us, but we will guide you in the right direction in your situation. And I promise that. I talk on my shows. If you start watching the Papa Report on Saturdays on News 12 or hear me on the radio, I talk about a stress-free retirement. I want every aspect of our meetings together to be stress-free. You come in, I don't want to scare the crap out of you. I'm going to provide you with solutions. How are we going to fix this problem? And there are solutions. So everyone here is entitled. All you have to do is you go outside. The girls are out there waiting. They have our calendars up. You can book a calendar. They'll give you a pamphlet, bio pamphlet about us, so you can read up on us. If you want to take my website down, it's not up there. Take my website down. You can go on our site, dpsadvisors.net. You can see all of our TV shows. You can see stuff about us, about what we do. You know, like I said, I've been in business for 38 years. I'm a licensed fiduciary. I've never had a complaint filed against me. I don't even know how to deal with that, because I educate and empower people so they can make better decisions with their hard-earned money. So with that, I'm going to be here to answer some questions. We got to get out of here in like a half hour. So if you're interested, and again, I promise you, it's stress-free, no obligation. You can come in, spend 2 hours in my office, and talk about whatever's going on in your life, and then walk out and say, hey, thanks for everything, and there's not going to be any hard feelings. I'm in this too long to have to worry about that. So we're inviting every one of you to go see the girls, get a date on the calendar. It's for your own good, and if you just get a second opinion about where your assets are, we'll give you that second opinion, and I'll answer any questions now. I'm finished, so hopefully you learned a little bit something. I didn't scare everybody into everything, but that's pretty much it. That's our story. That's DPS Advisors.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't forget, check me out tomorrow night on Channel 11. CW11, tomorrow night, 6:30. Thank you very much.